the startups, but this is the real deal. I'm going to say this respectfully because I know him really well. He's a really good nerd. Anybody that's got a Garmin watch, and you know Garmin, right? So many of the apps that Garmin drives, Roger actually did for them because he was so tired of waiting for them to get them done, so he just actually do the recording for them, which is absolutely crazy. He is a quite accomplished accordionist, and if you go online, I'm quite serious. He's pretty impressive. So. And we have Jake here from Prep Hoops, and he'll talk a little bit more about what's he up to. But you've been in business how long? I should have my notes.
About 5 years.
5 years, and of course, I'm going to sneak a peek here. Physics degree, that's the one I have. So you're a physics guy, and now you're driving Prep. Prep Hoops model is really interesting, and he'll talk more about it. But essentially, what they're doing is they create information about high school basketball players. I'm oversimplifying it. And his growth model is tremendous. The way he does it, he goes into I'm going to oversimplify it, but he goes into a state, engages some top writers, kind of influencer in that state, and then creates interest in the high school level basketball, and your audience is coaches and players in D1, D3 schools. And I say Jake for last because anybody who wants to start up has to understand what's going on tonight for him. It is his wife's birthday, and he is here rather than going and taking his wife out to dinner. He's here doing startup stuff. So if you can't overcome that, you just forget about it. Just don't even bother trying. Yeah. So a lot of the joke I was making before is how much that could cost you or she'll get something out of so. All right. Well, thanks, guys. So I'm gonna we have the extra mic. Todd, why don't you pass it down to Andy? And I'm just going to ask you again, what's the why? What is it about your stuff that really differentiates you, and frankly, the differentiator is yes.
Let me tell you a little bit about what Elevate is. So we've got a proprietary design for a hockey stick. It's got instead of having a traditionally straight shaft, it's got an offset shaft in it. Those provide benefits in two simplified ways. One is ergonomics, and one is mechanical advantages, and torque and leverage, ultimately allowing the player to have a harder shot, more accurate shot, quicker release. So, and with the ultimate intent for the player to increase their scoring. So the why is ultimately, at the end of the day, any athlete wants to be better. And it doesn't matter if that's 1% better or 100% better, they want to be better. So any product that's going to help them have that slight edge is what they're looking for. More specifically, in kind of a traditional sense of why, is over the last 30 years or so, the NHL, you can go and look at the data, but scoring trends in the NHL have been declining for 30 years. Largely, we attribute that to goalies, goalie play, goalie equipment, other things like that. But back in about 82, 83, scoring in the NHL peaked at 4 goals a game, or 4 goals per team per game, so 8 goals, and now it's down around 2.5. So it's gone down dramatically over those last 30-some years. And in talking to the NCAA, they've seen roughly the same trends. So there's a lot of talk in the hockey community. Some people would disagree and say they don't want it, but in general, the leagues are interested in finding ways to increase scoring. Now they're doing that by regulating goalie equipment and others, but we think we can do that by helping the players become better and improving their scoring. Did you have another part to that?
No, I'll just pass it on. Give it to Harsh and Todd from Tenecity.
Yeah, so thanks, it's great to be here. I guess my why, in terms of why we're doing Tenecity, is I just strongly felt there's a lot of athletes around the world that are playing without a purpose. And they don't have a clear focus and a clear progression for their development. And as a result of that, a lot of athletes falling short of their potential. I felt it myself. I could have gone further, and I saw it around me with a lot of my peers. I saw it as a coach with a lot of the players coming in. There's just a lack of purpose. We lose a lot of athletes as a result of that. It's never fun to come and play when you don't feel like there's any purpose. You're doing the same thing all the time. So we wanted to build a scalable technology that allowed at scale. So think about programs with 100 athletes, 500 athletes, think about state systems with 1,000 athletes. To be able to provide each athlete in that system with a degree of purpose and a systematic approach to their development. I think that's a big opportunity. That's really our why. The other part of the question.
Just differentiate why
The
did
key-
they pick up Tenecity
yeah.
versus other competitors?
The key differentiation right now to our platform, I feel it's got this holistic focus. It's not just a video analysis app or a math statistics app. It's really trying to put the whole system together, all of the training, all of the performance data on one platform. The other key differentiator is just my background, particularly in tennis. I feel like the people we're working with, I've played with them, they've seen me for a long time, there's a degree of credibility. We understand player development, and so at this point, I think it's that background and knowledge and that connection that we have. That's one of our differentiators.
Our product is a wearable sensor. It's a muscle oxygen monitor, and the why, or why we do what we do is we say that Moxy is a proven path to human excellence. So the Moxy sensor helps athletes train more effectively, but also in a healthy way. So we can help athletes achieve better performance with actually less time training, so less injury, and just more effective. They can train the system that is in most need of training and not overtrain other systems. So by being more deliberate about how they train, they can improve their performance, but also maintain or improve their health. If I look at our differentiator in the market, we've had one competitor that has came and went since we've been on the market. There's a couple more kind of that are going to be starting up pretty soon. But we've got the most accurate and the best technology for doing this measurement. We also have probably one of the higher priced units as well. But that's we're definitely taking that the high performance and focusing on that niche, and that's really our differentiator. So we actually are kind of looking forward to having some competitors with lower quality, lower priced devices, just to give us a good comparison.
Thank you. So I built TeamGenius originally from my own experience in volunteering and working with our local youth soccer club. So TeamGenius is a platform that is designed specifically for youth sports to streamline the archaic and paper-driven process of tryouts. So in working with our club, when we were running tryouts, there's a lot of people involved. The kids have a big stake in it, obviously. The parents have an emotional stake in it. And these hard-working volunteer-run organizations that run your local soccer club, the hockey club, whatever sport your kids play, they're working their butts off just to give these kids a chance to play. Most of them are doing it as volunteers. And looking at the tryouts process, it's something that just hadn't changed for decades. It's paper-driven, spreadsheets, lots of hours, lots of long nights, and frustrated people all around. So we built TeamGenius to address that. It takes the paper out of it, it gets kids on the right teams, and it gets the parents the right feedback. So, the why really boils down to, I'm really passionate about the benefits of youth sports, and anything we can do to give the kids a chance to play helps. The studies show kids that play youth sports, they do better in school, they're healthier mentally and physically, they're more likely to go to college, etc. So that's certainly a cause that I can get behind. And so I'd say our main differentiator is a really great implementation of our mobile app. It's as simple as that. I mean, in a chaotic event like trials, where you have 100 kids running around, playing a game or running drills, and you're trying to evaluate and collect data on them, the mobile technology has to work every time. It cannot fail, even outdoors where there might not be an available connection. So we've done a really good job of that, and we've evaluated, since our launch in July of 2016, we've collected over 1 million data points on over 50,000 athletes. So we're pretty proud of that.
All right, thanks for having me as well. So Prep Hoops, we are a national media outlet, so we cover high school and AAU basketball around the country. Currently in about 30 states, we publish about 1,500 articles a month right now nationally. We also run events, so we have tournaments and showcases that we ran in 21 states last year. So the why, both my business partner and I played Division III basketball in Minnesota. Coached after that, coached at high school club, Division III college as well. And really what you find is, media outlets out there, they're really focused on Division I players. So, people going to play at the University of Minnesota. As a player and then trying to recruit at the Division III level, there was a really large information gap for college coaches, and then also, for the players and families that are trying to get recruited at that level. So our niche and really how we differentiate ourselves, it's a couple things. Every state that we're in, we have a handful of writers, and we're going to cover players that are, we're going to cover Division I players, but we're going to cover the Division II, Division III, NAI, JUCO kids as much or more. And frankly, there's a lot more of them, but we are going to really try to bridge that information gap. And our events do the same thing. So we run tournaments and showcases that kind of have the same end. And really the other differentiator is it's a hyper local. So every state that we're in, we are the resource for that information. So we're trying to write about 50 articles a month in every state that we're in, and just cover as many kids as possible.
I love it all. That's really amazing. I did almost forgot. And Carson, thank you very much for opening Sports Nation again. I don't know that if you know this, but the pitch, has slipped away. We're still longer engaged, but Carson, it's really nice enough to host this. This is the third time we've been here, and I just really appreciate it. I know the club appreciates it, and we're not going to let up just yet. Okay, so thanks guys very much. So I'm going to kind of split this up a little bit. First, the way to look at this, I think you're in three countries, I think Spain, India, and the U.S., and you've got 2 employees, so you're just on the edge of revenue plus, I'm guessing. And if you don't want to share, just don't shut up. I know you guys are on the other side of that, right? So when you hit that revenue point, you said, I'm in, right? I'm going to be okay. My last month's mortgage is paid off. When did that happen? What did you do just before that, and what did that give you that moved you forward to the next level? What did it allow you to do that you could have done before you got to that black instead of that red? Right? Why don't you start?
There really wasn't a line in the sand or a point where that occurred. It's really been, we've been drifting in that direction. So this past year, we really everybody got paid, and there was some money left in the checking account. So that's the first year that's happened. But what that is allowing us to do is think longer term. When we first started, it was literally look in the checking account and see how much cash was there, and that determined like how many parts I could order to build the next units to sell. And it was that, we were self-funded, and I mean, I started with my credit cards maxed out, and we had some pre-orders. We got to at least ground zero, but then to get so that everybody gets paid and all that, we just had to grow the sales volume till we got to that point. And we've just been creeping up for the 4 years that we've been on the market, and it's mainly just due to referrals. Most of our sales come from people that are using the product. Somebody sees it, and then they want it too. And that's for all the social media. I mean, the social media helps people share, but ultimately that's what it is. So it's really just been growing up to that point to where now we're on the edge of profitability, which would be really exciting.
It's hard saying that word, right? And you're like a little insight. They're about 30. We think we're about 30.
Oh, it's more than that.
Was it now?
Yeah,
we just closed Uzbekistan. Knows I'm cheating because I can't say Uzbekistan. And Serbia. We just closed those with speakers. I've been on Skype, and I thank God most people speak English. There's no way I can really speak English, let alone Serbian. So let everyone else know that. So Todd, why don't you take a shot at that and go ahead?
Sure. So early in 2016, we got to the point where we had built and published out our minimal viable product. What could we do to get a club through the tryout process and to the end where they were happy? It wasn't a polished product. It's one of those where if you're not embarrassed by your first release, you release it. We were definitely embarrassed, especially me as the developer. But shortly after that, we sort of had 2 decisions or 2 options in front of us. One was let everyone in for free and get as much feedback as possible, or customers, but maybe you'll make enough money to kind of move the needle. And so in March, we chose to hire. We ended up hiring two students from work first part-time, and they were just doing the outbound sales reach. building contact lists, making the cold emails, the cold phone calls, and getting people into the sales funnel for the first time. And then my co-founder would give them demos and bring them through to close. So by doing that, we were able to figure out, have a lot of great conversations, get a lot of very vested customers into the platform who, because they had skin in the game, because they had money in it, they were willing to give us feedback and tell us what they liked and what they didn't like. And so in 2016, the second half, we were able to bring on 10 to 15 customers by the end of the year. As that process continued and grew and we got more inbound, in 2017 for the full year, we were able to add about 120 new customers on top of that. So,
and we'll get back to it, but did you bypass beta then? Did you go right to market? No.
Beta is kind of a gray area.
Yeah,
it's a minimal viable product, right? So we were
right.
charging people to use it,
Right.
maybe not as much as we would have liked.
Okay.
But we really wanted to take the approach of, we're going to set a price for this,
Right.
so that we can prove to ourselves that we can sell this.
Okay, so it wasn't a formal beta operation. In other words, you didn't go after, everybody with one client in Canada, going after 6 opportunities with cut rate, over a lot of love, and heading to the beta. You didn't need to do that for that.
I guess in that respect, it was sort of a beta, but it was paid customers.
Okay,
So.
we'll get to that. Thank you.
Yeah, so we, maybe a little unique. So my business partner went full-time about a year and a half before I did in 2014. So I worked full-time and then worked full-time after that on the business. And we were able to really invest everything we made back into the company. And I mean, we've still really taken that approach to today, but that allowed us to really fuel the growth and then work through a lot of the growing pains early on as far as, fine-tuning the model, that type of thing. So that was, that's something that we've really tried to do even to today. Again, it's, as far as cash flow, profitability, we've looked at, if we think we're going to make some money, it's more what can we spend that on to grow. And, that's been the approach for the full 5 years up to this point. So.
We've had the middle looking down here. We just try to set this up. So Andy, tell us about what you're thinking about how you're going to get the revenue. You're in early patent. You start building up the right leads. Not giving too much away. So what's going to get you to that first sale? Real sale?
Yeah, so I guess I would go back to the beta. So we've done 2 rounds of essentially beta testing with a 3rd round in the works. So we've kind of been learning with each round. We've been doing slightly larger groups of testing. So we started with about a group of 5 or 6 players back in November of 16. We had about 30 players testing our 2nd generation stick last June. And now on our 3rd generation stick, we're hoping to have that come out in April and start the testing. So if that goes as we plan it to go, then our intention is to go almost flip immediately to a Kickstarter campaign.
Okay.
And so we would use that both as an opportunity to seed the market, get the product out there, be able to promote and do other things, but also use it as a fundraising tool. To be able to use that to not only go out and sell, a certain small volume of sticks, and then use that income, if you will, to then turn around and fund investment for our actual launch, which would be planned for the fall.
So you're really earlier than I realized.
Yeah, so I suppose this past year, so we're just finishing our 2nd year, and we are generating revenue, and so we've got the platform fees. We also have a brand partnership with a large company in India that's also generating revenue for us. So we're still trying to develop the revenue streams and see where that helps. But we're also in a good economic environment where I feel like we have access to capital. Anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 of capital at very low interest rates right now. So for a startup where you're trying to bridge that sort of delta between your costs and revenue, we can sort of bridge that with some of the capital that's freely available. So that's kind of helped us get through particularly the investment on the mobile app, because it's significant, sort of a big learning experience for me, but turned out to be a significant effort and also expense. But I think that the economic environment and access to capital is sort of supporting us at this point.
By the way, we have this really cool thing here. Sports Engine is the coolest company in town. You can talk into this thing. So if anybody has a question, I'm just going to throw it to you, Ryan. So, you don't want to get tired here, Mike. That's pretty cool, right? Somebody raised their hand a little.
That's cool.
Okay, so let's. This is the question. When were you thinking about giving up? Not notice I didn't say when were you. When did you think you were going to give up? Anybody?
You know, I don't know that I ever seriously thought about giving it up. I mean, there were lots of lots of times when the money wasn't there and you wondered how you were going to get
Don't
through
forget,
it.
I know your wife, Joyce.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think I'm pretty level with the ups and downs. I don't get too excited on the ups, and I don't get too negative on the downs. And I think that helps me. That helps me get through the downs. And we had a few nasty downs. We had a few deals. We had some big deals that fell through, and that was tough to take. And we had some pretty good ups too. We had some big deals that did come through too. So I think for me the approach is just keep it level. Don't go nuts and throw a gigantic party. In fact, my wife, you brought it up. My wife even asked me one of the deals. We landed a big deal, and she's like, "I can't believe you're not more excited." And I'm like, "Well, there'll be time that will be the other way." And
Hold that thought, honey.
yeah, yeah. So that's my approach. I don't know if that's difficult.
Todd?
Yeah, I don't know if giving up was the right word, but there's certainly a couple of times where I felt like I was starting over from scratch. Whether that was a initial co-founder that I brought on to help me build a business that didn't work out for various reasons. There's the moment where you learn that your MVP is on a platform that's not going to scale, so you have to start over from scratch. Those kinds of moments can be humbling, but I think that persistence is one of the key attributes of a founder that you need.
Yeah, we've definitely had our moments along the way too. I think for me, so I had a day job for almost 10 years, 10 years, and it's pretty chill, I mean, relatively. So I think for me, when you there's plenty of ups, there's plenty of downs. Being able, my business partner and I just kind of love each other out. Honestly, like that's been extremely helpful, and I think I'm learning now. The longer I'm just doing this full time, just knowing that there are going to be some downs, and the ups are coming, and it's been easier as time has gone on. But it was definitely, especially early on, a challenge, and we had a couple moments that were not great. So I'm just going to learn and move on, I guess.
So let's see what these guys are thinking about that.
Yeah, so same. I haven't really thought of quitting or giving up. I think back when you start a company and you think I'll try it for 3 months or I'll try it for 6 months, I'll see how it goes. I kind of laugh at that now because it humbles you. I think this whole experience has been humbling as to how long it takes. It's going to take several years, and you could have a great product and great service, and maybe it's a home run right off the bat, and that could definitely happen. My sense is that's not the norm. Most of the times it takes several years to really develop the product, get the fit, grow the customer base, and then start feeling good about it. So I haven't really thought about quitting, but I think you've got to be flexible. And so that's my approach now, is just kind of be flexible. Every sort of month or two, you kind of see where you're going, what's the opportunities, are they materializing, is there enough to kind of keep you motivated and you feel like, yes, I'm sort of still moving in the right direction. And I've felt that throughout the last 18, 20 months. So it's kind of kept me going, but I'm flexible. You kind of have to be in this world.
Are you consulting inside, or how are you?
Well, it's a tough decision. So at this point, of course, it's a family decision, and we're in a situation where I'm able to give it my full effort, and we have to make some decisions as a family. And it's but of course I can teach tennis and do those things, but that's very part time, and it's some cash flow coming in. But
sort of business, we could create a therapy group for startups, husbands and wives, and everybody
Marriage therapy.
yeah, it's a team effort. Yeah, it's a team effort.
I think they call it the bar.
when I read your question about when did you think of quit, I was thinking which time. And they never last very long. They might last, a few seconds, but there's lots of those moments where you feel like you've kind of run into a brick wall, and how are you going to find your way around it? One of the things that we've got, I don't know if you guys have these scenarios, but I've really looked at ours as kind of 3 tracks that we're trying to manage. The one is more the kind of player response or the market response, and that's getting the product right and that product market fit. That one, I don't know that I've ever had that feeling where we couldn't overcome anything. We just kind of keep tweaking the product, thinking about what's working, what's not working, and how do we design around that. But we've got 2 other tracks that we've been having to manage. One of those is the patent track, and that's pretty much out of our control. I mean, we write the patent and we send it in, and then it's, there's not a big influencing campaign you can do with the patent office. So you're really kind of at their whim as far as what decision they want to make. And when they come back to you and all of a sudden in April of this year, you've been waiting for 18 months and you get a letter that says we've declined your patent on all 46 counts, that you kind of feel like you're stuck.
Is that a real number? Is that a real number, 46 counts?
Yeah. So you kind of feel like, at least momentarily, you got to call the patent attorney and then say, what do we do? But you kind of feel like, oh, maybe that's it. And then the other thing for us is we've got rules, and we've got rules entities out there that write the rules for hockey. And one of the first things we did was go out and research those rules. And for the most part, the entities within the U.S. and Canada, our stick would be allowed, at least based on their rules as they're written today. They all have a disclaimer that says we reserve the right to review and approve equipment, so they could make that decision. But we knew that the international organization had a rule that essentially would explicitly not allow our stick, and we weren't terribly concerned about that, but we knew that was out there. And so my business partner had a meeting with USA Hockey last August. He met with them and he said, do you know about the IHF rule? And we said, yeah. And he said, well, we're trying to align our rules to theirs. And we sort of like, uh-oh, now we're in trouble. So, again, we've got a little bit of influencing that we can do there, but, when we sent 2 sticks to Switzerland around Thanksgiving, we're not there to deliver it. We're not there to present it. We can't talk about it. We can't defend it. We're just hoping that the materials that we send along with them kind of stand on their own and disclose it. But
Roger's got a colleague in Switzerland, by the way. We can look up that he actually trains Swiss Lions.
Yes.
So if you want to connect with him.
So we had good guidance, good connections in there, but when you're not there to present it, you kind of feel like you're a little bit handcuffed. So a couple of moments there.
So I'm not aware of the finance models that you guys have, but every startup, I don't care if you're sports tech or new types of underwear, is you have a dream about getting your exit figured out and also creating potentially an investor environment. So I'm just going to throw that out to any of you. What's the long-term plan? What's your exit strategy? Is using that cliche for a moment. Is there one for anybody? Or that's the
Well, obviously we're the furthest from it, but to some degree we've had to think about it because some of that is almost a financing thing. So we've looked at, could we license this technology? Could we throw that out there? That certainly is an option. A big thing for us, and Roger, you would have the same problem, is our product is going to be inventory driven. That's going to be one of the biggest limiters from a capital standpoint. We're not, we don't have a virtual product. I can't make 1 million sticks. I got to be able to pay for 1 million sticks to be able to sell it. So that certainly is going to be a limiting factor for us. So depending on the growth curve, if we hit a steep point, potentially going to a strategic sale would be another exit. All things go the way we hope, we would elevate as a full hockey equipment company and down the path. Absolutely.
Yeah, as far as exit strategy, there's different opinions on this, and I guess as I've gone through this process to develop my own, but I really don't spend a lot of time thinking about exit. I think I spend more time trying to develop my product and provide value to the customers and grow our company get it to a sustainable standpoint. And then, it's a byproduct. And in the future, if we grow and we're successful and those opportunities come up, we can sort of think about that. But really not thinking about...
You mentioned you had a line of about 50 grand, and have you thought about going out and getting more from investors? Or is that still early?
Yeah, sure. We've tried. We have to find the right fit, right? So it's also not easy to. I mean, it's fundraising in itself is a big task, but the opportunities we've had, maybe right now we still haven't found the right fit. I think it would help if we could get funding, but if it's the right fit. So we're not close to those opportunities, but we'll sort of see. As right now we're so neck deep into developing the product, running the company, kind of focusing more on the value piece but the exit piece really is not something that I spend a lot of time thinking on.
Our strategy for exit is just to keep growing the value of the company until some other company decides they need to have it. So my skill set is not in marketing, and ultimately this product needs to be marketed really well for it to really go big scale, and I think it has the ability to do so. So our plan is just keep growing the value as long as we can, and then we have a lot of contacts with all of the likely buyers for this, and so the goal is at some point one of them will step in. One thing to back up a little bit, one thing I maybe would do differently if I knew then what I know now. When I first started this, we spent a lot of time looking for outside funding. And our thinking was, well, if we build this product, we also have to have the apps and the software that go with it. And so I spent a lot of time getting funding to pay for that development, or searching for funding, and I ended up not being successful at that. And then I still didn't think about quitting. I said, well, fine, we'll just skip the software. We'll just build the sensor because we can afford to do that with the cash we've got. And then I actually paid a guy $3,000 to modify his software so that it could show our data on his graph. And that was how we got started. And then since then, we still haven't built our own software. We're still relying on we work with Garmin and Training Peaks and Today's Plan and Self Loops, all these other third-party softwares. But we haven't had to spend the money to develop that part of the business. But then the flip side is it's still all our own. We bootstrapped it. We had a few people that worked for equity along the way, but we didn't have to dilute ourselves. So that's, I think, looking back, we wasted a lot of time looking for funding that we could have been doing developing the company, and that's, I think, something, if anybody's thinking about starting out, it's pretty scary to bootstrap it, but it's something to think about, especially when you start thinking about exit, where that'll put you, when you get to that point.
Yeah, that was a great piece of advice I got from Carson over there at one point a while back, which was bootstrap as long as possible. I think that's really good advice for a number of reasons. And when you're this early in the growth of your company, you just can't have a detailed exit plan. If you're thinking about that, you're thinking about the wrong things, honestly. Don't even put thought into that. Really focus on being the best at what you do, building value, and so I say that knowing we're currently raising money, so we're talking about all the things that go into what the market's doing. We're sitting here in the mecca of esports technology, which is in our wheelhouse. So we're very much aware of the investments, of the investments going into the space, the trends. There was a report that shows that youth sports organizations are forecast to increase their spending on technology to make their organizations run more efficiently times 10 over the next 4 years. So this is a great market with a lot of investment happening and consolidation going on. So we're excited about that, but we're really focused on just building a valuable company right now.
Yeah, I think these guys hit on the head. My partner and I are really, we talked about it probably more than we should have. And I think it's kind of fun. It's like a sexy thought, sell a company and all that. But we've definitely shifted our viewpoint, and we used to talk about it on maybe quarterly annual meeting stuff. And frankly, it's the same thing. We're trying to run a good business, and we've kind of got to the point where we have a partner and I, and then 6 other full-time employees, and it's people we like being around. It's fun to go to the office. I mean, we're being challenged, solving problems. We're seeing growth and all the stuff that it's easy to get you out of bed in the morning. And for us, it's, I mean, so yeah, if you sell a company, what are you going to do next? I mean, if you got something else, cooking, that's great. But we do something that we're passionate about. We like everybody that walks in our door every day, and again, things have been going pretty well. So it's for us, yeah. If the day happens and there's something that makes sense, we'll look at it. But really, I mean, we could see ourselves doing this for quite a while, and yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's again, it's something I enjoy doing every day. So it's something we don't really talk about all the time.
Any questions out there? Shy. You got the cue. No? All right, I'll just keep going. All right, so let's see. Yeah, so early on and even ongoing, metrics, right? Revenue metrics, performance metrics. What metrics did you use to get to where you are? And what kind of things are you thinking about going forward? What's the role of the revenue focus is really easy for us. You spend A, you get A plus hopefully. But running a full business with full staff and full operations is a little more complicated. So let's just kind of run that through.
Yeah, sure, I can start. So we kind of have two sides of our business. We have subscription revenue for our content. So again, I mentioned roughly 1,500 articles a month right now. Probably 75% are paywall. So subscriber base is how we're driving revenue on the web, and then on the event side, it's getting players and teams to attend our events. So it's different metrics for both. Obviously, we're trying to grow subscribers, grow revenue on the web, but for us, it's nitty gritty, looking at what content people want to read, what converts at a higher percentage, how much content. It's really trying to dive into that, and we spent a ton of energy the last year setting up some customized stuff in Google Analytics and trying to figure out bulk conversion stuff, and it's kind of interesting. I mean, that's something I really enjoy digging into. So for the web, I mean, what do you put in to get subscriptions? And it's the right stuff, the right type of content. So that's been a big focus on the web. For events, it's way more relationship based, and so we run these club or AU tournaments where we have club programs attending around the country. They're really valuable. So being able to have a good relationship with, a club basketball team that has maybe 5 teams of each age group is crazy valuable for us. And we're going to cover their team year round and their players, so we're providing value for them. But for us, it's again in our weekly stuff, it's how many phone calls are we connecting? How many directors are we talking to each week? And different times of the year, it's a little bit different, but. For tournaments in particular, that's a huge number for us. And we know if we're going to have good touch points with these club directors, that's going to lead to full events.
Well, let me ask you kind of follow-up. So how do you gauge your clients then, your customers? What's that gauge there? So far you're doing revenue metrics on inbound and some outbound. How do you gauge your clients?
Just as far, I guess we elaborate.
Are they happy? I mean,
sure.
Them paying money is a good signal, but go beyond that.
No, that's a great one. So again, on the web, I mean, we'll get feedback on content. Anybody can write a comment. So that's an easy way, inbound email stuff. One thing we talk a lot about, again, we're a huge value for college coaches. So we have about 400 colleges that subscribe out of about, there's probably about 2,000 men's basketball programs in the country right now. And that's been going up pretty steadily. But we basically have zero turnover on college coaches. So yeah, I mean, parents are obviously, kids graduate and you have turnover for some of the readership, but we know we're providing value for colleges because they stick around, and that number keeps going up, our subscriber number.
I don't just pick on you. Is that because you need this? Where would you go?
Yeah,
it's not that it's the running app.
It's both. No, I mean, it's the quantity and it's the quality. It's getting the right people in each state that we're in that have that knowledge, that can really provide value for them. It's for colleges, but it's also for just parents and families and readers. But yeah, it's kind of both. So yeah, and then as far as the events go, our tournaments have gone up, and our registrations and event attendance has gone up every year. And so obviously we'll sit down and evaluate what we can do better. But that's a huge thing, is trying to get feedback immediately after events and just talking to people. So.
Thank you.
I'd say there's the two sides of it. There's the basic financials, which is your lifetime value of a customer. So we're a SaaS business. So we're looking at lifetime value to cost of customer acquisition ratio. So we're attacking it from both sides. We're always trying to add more to the product so we can, what can we do to keep the prices up, to maybe raise prices, to really increase those lifetime values. And then on the sales side, what can we do to automate the sales process and the customer onboarding to reduce those acquisition costs. So the unit economics from a customer to customer basis has to work, or your business is not going to grow. That's across the board. From a customer engagement standpoint, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we recently ran, there's the Net Promoter Score, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of. Has anyone heard of the Sean Ellis test? You know the Sean Ellis test? Nobody? Okay. So the Sean Ellis test, like Net Promoter Score, is a single question survey for all your customers. And the question is, how would you feel if you were no longer able to use this product? And the options are very disappointed, somewhat disappointed, or not disappointed at all. And a research group ran this survey across hundreds of startup companies, and the ones that got a 40% or higher on the very disappointed answer from the surveys proved that they had a scalable product and business that they could grow. And so we recently ran this in anticipation of working with our seed round investors, and we were happy to get 57% back. So we got a pretty good engagement from that. But
that was a Sean Ellis?
The Sean Ellis test. Yeah, so if you look that up, it's pretty easy. We could run it with a Google form. That's what we did. So yeah, we're pretty happy about that.
I had no idea that test was formalized. But one of the answers, or the answer I was thinking of was, we sell a tangible product. We sell it to the customer, and a lot of them we just don't talk to again. If they don't have technical problems, they just go off and use it. And early on, I was assuming, well, if these people aren't calling me with technical problems, they must not be using it. And I started just calling up a handful of people, and they say, I talked to this. He was actually one of our very first customers, and I called him a year or more afterwards, and I just said, hey, are you still using it? And he's like, oh yeah. He says, I just gave a presentation at this medical conference 2 weeks ago, and I'm doing this other test, and he told me all these things he was doing with it. And so that got me to thinking more about, it's really important to talk to the people to make sure they're still using it, and to make sure that they would be disappointed if they didn't have it anymore. So I think that's a great metric. Mostly what we run on though is the cash in the bank. It's a cash flow situation for us. It's really how we gauge, and the number of units sold is really how we're gauging our progress. But moving forward, one of the things we're looking at adding in is measuring the effectiveness of our conversions. So we get people that see us on the website, and they maybe submit one of our forms, so we get them enrolled as a lead, and then how many of those get converted to buy, and then how long does it take? And that's one of the things I think we need to work on, as we get our head above water here a little bit. That's something I want to focus on, getting that more efficient moving forward.
I think for us, similar SaaS companies, so similar metrics. One is also customers, I'm forgetting the word now, but customers we have, and then we want to get them back, a re-engagement. So that's important. We've got this initial set of customers the first year. How many of them sort of renewed their subscriptions? So that's important to see. And then engagement with the platform and the services. So, for example, on our platform, assessments or video sharing or lesson plans, match results, match evaluations. How much of this are they sharing? How many match results did they share last month? How many match evaluations were shared? So how much is the customer, the players, the coaches engaging on the platform? That gives us a sense of, is this a customer that's really using the product, is successful? We feel good about them renewing and staying with us.
Is that single score type thing, or is it more kind of general than that?
We'll sort of break it down by each customer. So, for me, it's more valuable I could know, okay, 100 match evaluations were shared last month. It's more valuable to know sort of how did the Spanish program do, how did the Indian program do, how did, the programs in the US, what are they using, and what's the value there. So I think renewals is very important in addition to, and then new customer acquisition. But mostly it's also a cash flow management situation.
Mostly for us, it's how much money is in the bank account. So.
But you are being engaged with those 30 hockey players. I mean, the feedback you're getting from them is real-time stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
So when we did our second round of testing, our first round, we had 5 or 6 players. So that was going to be really more gut feel. We weren't going to get any statistically significant data out of that. But as we went into the second round, and we had 30 players that were going to be doing that testing. We had set kind of 2 tiers of metrics that we were going to use as far as kind of judging our decision as far as how we proceeded. And so the first round was at the end of the test. So these tests for 1 hour, and then we gave the players the option to keep the stick or not. And in exchange for keeping the stick, we were then going to follow up with them for 2 surveys. So the first metric was what percentage of the players wanted to keep the stick, had some interest in at least keeping it and continue to use it, continue to test it, and being willing to engage with us in feedback. And so we had set that metric at 75%. We wanted 75% of the players to keep it. And then we had a secondary metric as a follow-up to that we were going to do surveys at 30 and 90 days. And by the end of that 90-day survey, we wanted at least half of the players who had kept the stick to say that they prefer ours. So ultimately, that was going to get us to roughly somewhere in the neighborhood of about 30-35% of the players in the pool, the total pool, had kept it. So the first metric, we got 29 out of 30 that wanted to keep it. So basically 96%. So that clearly been our metric. And then the second one, we had 7 players that said they preferred it. So out of whatever that number was, 28, 29, we ended up having 7. And we agreed that was sufficient and enough. They had a strong enough positive reaction that we continued on and working on the third generation.
Okay, we've got about 10 more minutes, so let's just, I got a few more questions here. One is, and it's kind of a combo question. It's very cliche stuff, but really important for people thinking about it. What do you wish you knew now? And I'm old as the group, so I have a lot of those. That would have helped you early on. But most importantly, what thing are you driving to understand looking forward that if you just get that thing, will you double down? We're going to go to the accelerator, but I just can't find that answer just yet. Why won't you start?
I think I mentioned earlier, the one thing that I wish I knew was about how unfit I was to get funding, and how it probably wasn't, even if I would have finagled a way to get funding, it probably wouldn't have solved all the problems that I thought it would. So if I focused more on bootstrapping earlier, I think that would have helped us be more effective. And then another one I think would be a focus on technical resources and I wish we had more ability to write apps. So I wish I had a co-founder that could write apps or I have a co-founder that can do that stuff, but then he just stayed with his full-time job. He was really never potential to come full-time on this, and that's probably something I would do different as well, is find a co-founder that is really ready to dump their full-time job. That would be another one. Great personality, great guy. I still work with him a lot, but it'd be a different. We'd have some more flexibility if we found somebody that was ready to go full-time.
I'd say I wish somebody had told me way back at the beginning not to spend several weeks writing a business plan. It's a complete waste of time.
Could you say that again a little louder?
I wish I wouldn't have spent 3 weeks writing a business plan, like the full business plan with the templates and all that. Your time's much better spent getting out, talking about your idea, getting it in front of people, write an MVP, do anything you can to validate the idea versus figuring out what you're going to make 5 years from now without any validation whatsoever. You know the Zappos shoes story, right? Have you heard his story on startup? So the guy would go out and take pictures of shoes at different shoe stores and then built a website to sell his shoes. And then when somebody would buy the shoes, he'd go out and get it and ship them the shoes. He wanted to validate that people would buy shoes online. There was no websites to buy shoes. So you got to validate the idea.
And with the technology today, that's not a big leap. It's not going to drain your wallet.
No,
you get a lot done pretty quickly.
With the cloud services out there right now, you can any software guy can build a startup in their basement evenings and weekends. So.
So before I let you go, I'm glad you're off the hook there. But so what is it the thing you wish if you knew right now that you would double down? Is it how to get into, say, the European market, or what's that one thing that could turn the company, rush into space?
Yeah, one of the things we still haven't been able to nail down yet is the business model around sort of the big channel partners, national governing bodies, and how our product fits with that. Mm-hmm. We've had lots of conversations with different types of organizations, from governing bodies to private, coaching organizations. So these are bigger organizations outside of the typical youth sports clubs that we sell to. So if we could figure out get that one big national governing body,
there's a book called the Fusion by Rogers. It's an old book. It's the precursor to Crossing the Chasm. You want to take a look at that. It explains why you're not able to do it. I think it does.
Okay. So first question, going back. So the family situation, I think everyone's kind of addressed it. To go full time, I wish I would have gone sooner. It's amazing. Again, I worked a lot of hours still on the business when I was full time, but you're still, at another job for the rest of the day. It wasn't, would have been a lot harder on my personal, with my family and kids and whatnot. But the growth that we've seen, since I've been able to focus on this and hire people, it's been substantial. So just being able to do that sooner would have been great. Would have been a lot scarier too, but that definitely would have fast forwarded things a little bit. Kind of related to that, I think going forward, we're at the point, we have our first handful of employees were people that, a lot of them are out of college a couple of years now, but interned with us or were involved with us at a really early stage, and you get to know somebody, and it's just really easy to work with our first set of employees, and we're starting to make some hires outside of kind of our comfort zone, where we people that we really know well, and we know how important a good hire it is and what that kind of opens up as far as opportunities and growth. So I think for us, we're really trying to figure that piece out, and what type of person fits with our culture, and we're still a very small group, and we just know finding the right people will really fast forward things. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges we're trying to figure out as we keep going.
So I guess what I would do differently, or what I know now, I suppose in tennis I'm a little surprised with just the acceptance of technology, and as we speak to coaches and directors and people who are sort of engaged in the industry and developing athletes, it's interesting. I mean, it's still not so open to even having a conversation at times. So, and I come from the industry, I've played, and I can relate to them, I can talk at that level, particularly to a coach, but even then it's this little bit of a wall that I'm surprised by. Maybe it's a tennis thing, but...
It's not a tennis thing.
So what I've learned is you got to be patient, and it takes time to develop the relationship. It's not going to happen overnight. Sometimes it could be months. So definitely that, having a little longer term perspective and having the patience. In terms of what I know, what I feel would help us overcome, sort of go to that next level now, it's tough to say, but I do think that there's some roles on our team that we're not filling yet. I mean, my domain expertise is tennis. I understand the sport and I understand athlete development within tennis. And I've learned technology and I can manage that piece, but there's other pieces that I think it's a lot to do, one person, and we're two people right now. So I think having potentially a stronger team could help us gain some more customers and sort of improve our customer success as well.
Andy, you're the last word here, so we can...
Go ahead. So, a friend of mine recently bought a company and asked me, he said, what would you do differently? Anything that you would do? So, basically this question, and I said, I can't think of anything. And I would be very clear to say that that's not that we haven't made mistakes. But I think those mistakes are very important in your learning process. And if you're not making those mistakes, you're not learning. So I think you've got to be willing to go out and take those chances and learn a few things. You want to do really good risk management up front and try to avoid the big mistakes. But you're going to make a lot of small mistakes along the way. And I think that's how you learn and you're better the next time. And just today we sent in a bunch of product for a different company into Amazon, and I said, I don't know if this is going to work the way we want it to, but hopefully it does. But I from the stories I've talked to other people, I'm pretty sure that they're going to say, well, you made this mistake, and that. And I'm like, I think we just have to accept that there's a learning process that goes with it. And I'd say that that's what I've learned as far as doing the business is don't be afraid to go in and make a few mistakes, just learn from them.
All right, well, that's about it for time. I hope I have some good questions for you guys. And hopefully it's valuable. First, I'm real honored to have you guys up here. I know how hard you guys work. I know Raj, I see you. You send me emails at 11 o'clock on Sunday night. I know something's going on. But I really respect the fact that you guys task, and I just want to thank you guys and send a round of applause.